Hello and welcome to the next issue of the Nifty Scrapbooker. Today we're going to be doing a new technique called embossing, where we're going to emboss an inked image and put it on our layout. We have a fun layout today all about kids and animal crackers. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Nifty Scrapbooker. And welcome to this edition of the Nifty Scrapbooker. Today we're going to be doing another full page layout, and we're going to be learning a new skill today. It's called embossing, and how you can take words maybe like this little thanks and make it look real shiny and bright, or how we're going to do today, we're going to do a little rabbit. We're going to learn how to make him embossed with some ink and some clear powder and our heat gun. So that's what we're going to do. But before we start any of that, we're going to go over our layout today. So today our layout will feature two 4x6 photos, a 3x3 journaling box, and a border. Now you see my border is pulled way far away from my 12-inch border side here. What I wanted is this paper that we're using is called Animal Crackers by American Crafts, and it's a very fun border, and so I wanted it to be a little wider. So I brought it an inch out. I brought this one an inch and a quarter out, and this an inch and a half out. So what we do is we created wider borders here. So this will actually start here and go all the way to the 12-inch, all the way to the side here, and so on and so forth. So that's our layout for today. So let's move those over and let's get to do a little bit of embossing. Now, when embossing, it's always good to use something to put underneath of it. Now, you see I have a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock here, and I just folded it right smack in the middle with my bone folder, and we're going to use that to catch any embossing powder. I'm using a rabbit stamp from one of those magazines you can get, scrapbooking magazines. I got a free stamp set in that, and I'm going to be using that. I'm going to be using the Ranger Archival ink, the jet black, and we're going to be using that to do our embossing. So, and this we're going to be embossing on this piece of Bazzill paper. Now the Bazzill paper comes with this is I think the linen texture on the front, but actually I'm going to be using the back of the paper because it's a lot smoother to stamp on. So that's what we're going to be using to stamp on today. So what we're simply going to do here is it's about 3 steps. First is stamping the image. So we're going to ink up our rabbit here on our archival ink. Get them good and coated. Now it doesn't matter where I put this, I'm just going to smack her right down in the middle because it doesn't matter because I'm going to be cutting it out. We're going to take some clear embossing powder. I'm going to be sprinkling while the ink is still wet. I'm going to be dousing a good bit of embossing powder on here. Now the nice thing about this is I can, once I put it on there, make sure it gets all on the, we're just going to shake it off. Now if you look, the image is kind of grayed, okay? And that's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and pour any powder that may have skipped out on there. That's why I folded it, so I can drop it back into our bucket. And then we can put the lid back on it and store it away. I usually use a bigger container for my clear because I use it more often. Now we're going to take our heat gun. This is the Heidi Swap heat gun. And we're going to be just taking it slightly and running it across the paper. Okay, we're just going to be, and as you see, as it starts heating up, it'll start getting darker. Now what that does is that takes the embossing powder and melts it into the ink. So isn't that cute? Okay, and we're done. See, it didn't take much time at all. Those heat guns take a couple seconds to warm up and heat up, but then you have a nice embossed rabbit. So that's what we're going to do today. This is going to be accent for our journaling box. I'm going to put our ink away here. Get out our scissors. I like these spring action loaded Fisker scissors to do our fussy cutting, as we call it. And we're just going to be just leaving a little border around the outside of the rabbit. I don't want to get too detailed. I don't want to cut into the embossing powder, or the embossing that's now melted onto the ink. And we're going to be putting him as an accent on our page. Now what I said earlier, I said we had a paper called Animal Crackers. Well, it's a fun paper, so this layout could be used great for toddlers, eating their cereal, eating animal crackers, just having fun at a party or something where their animal crackers were served, or something like that. So I just found this really cool print paper, and I decided to get some coordinating papers to go with it. and so we could have this great fun kids layout. So we're going to just finish up here, and done. There we go. We have our little rabbit outlined and ready to go. So he's going to be part of our layout. To start off, what we're going to do is we're going to take our, this is kind of how our layout will look when it's all done, but first we have to go ahead and ink everything. Today I'm using the Tim Holtz Distress Ink, the Vintage Photo, and we're going to be inking the sides of all this stuff. Now what I did is I cut out the photo papers for my photo. I used, this is the vanilla paper from Bazzill, and we're going to be inking the sides of it. I chose to use 4x6 photos because sometimes you have those great photos that just the whole photo will work. So I didn't cut any of these down. On the second page of this layout, as you'll see later, I did cut one down to a 3" by 4, a 4x6, and it's a 3x6. So that's what we're going to do with that one. The background of our paper is called Peanut Fudge. It's a Bazzill paper too. And then we have this fun stripe here paper, and it is the Kraft stripe by Coordinations. And then the polka dot is the Kraft large dot by Coordinations, and of course our animal cracker paper is by American Crafts. So as you notice, it makes it really stand out against this dark, kind of creates like a, almost like a jagged edge around this photo background here. And you can plop down whatever photograph you want on a page like this. Sometimes I build pages because I like the pages and then put the photos on later, and sometimes I build the paper around the photos. So this one is one I'm just going to use without photos for now, and then I'll go back later on and find a picture of my kids when they were little and do that. Okay, we're also going to ink around our journaling box. Now this is a double-sided journaling box I had. It was a little big, so I cut it down to about a 3x3 because it was just a little too big for the space I was working in. We're going to edge it. It's great to have a journaling box on the page, as you noticed in my video called the second most important thing of scrapbooking is journaling. Now this little guy, he is made out of the Bazzill paper that we used to make our rabbit. And what I did is simply I took the photograph here of this giraffe they had in the paper, and I just replicated it. And I just enlarged it and freehand drew it and cut it out. So that's what we do. We have a giant animal cracker here for our page. We're going to just go around him a little bit with some distress ink. The last couple layouts I've done some freehand what called paper piecing, and that's what this is. It's when you take paper and just kind of freehand cut it, and sometimes this one is just one piece of paper, but sometimes you would add other pieces to it to make a whole scene. And that's what we did last time with that tree on the superhero layout. So there we got him done. We'll go ahead and do our borders. Now as you can see, it's a little harder to do the distress ink on thinner paper. And a lot of times these papers are a lot thinner, the detail papers, but we're going to get it done anyway. What's great about this distress ink on the edges is it gives it dimension, but what it also does is it also hides all the pencil marks that you put on your paper drawing, tracing out these templates. As you see, my template was a lot thinner than this piece of paper, and so as you said, I pulled it my template an inch away and then made my line. My line, and so it's an inch and whatever, however big the template was. And I did the same thing with these two also. Like I said, this is the Kraft large dot, and I like using different papers, so you can see I kind of coordinated the different ones together. Now the stripes and the dots both came from the same line. They're both Coordinations papers, and as you know, I like to do polka dots and stripes on my paper in various different forms. There's that one. And our last is our Kraft stripe here. And then I just picked a nice dark chocolate brown because I knew I was going to be doing animal crackers, and I thought like a nice dark background would be nice for this. And that, is, of course, is our peanut fudge Bazzill paper. I picked up 2 of those. So all in all, I picked up about 6 pieces of paper. And if you catch them on sale, I know just recently Joann's is celebrating their 76th anniversary, and they had 76% off their paper, open stock paper. So you'll have to catch it on that sale if it's still going on. I'm not sure about that. Okay, now we got all our stuff inked and ready to go. All right, so let's go ahead and put our lid back on our distress ink so it doesn't dry out. Get our little guy ready here. He's going to go in the bottom down here. And let's start building our paper. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put our photographs on. Okay, so basically I'm going to bring this over here so you can kind of see the guidelines along here. What I want to do is I want to bring it 1/8 of an inch. Got my tape runner. And we're going to be putting 1/8 of an inch out and 1/8 of an inch down. So it's going to go about right there. What we're going to do is we're going to come down with this box 1/8 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch from the side and 1/8 of an inch down from that photo. So what that does, it leaves us with a space down here that we can put this 3" by 3" journaling box. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of center this in the middle. So kind of divide the 1/8 of an inch in between the top and the bottom, and we're going to lay that right in there. Okay? Next thing we're going to do, we're going to grab our little rabbit. Oh, isn't he adorable? We're going to pull this off to the side. Little things like ears, because I'm using a dot runner, I can run it right off the board. It'll stick to my board, but you know, you can just rub it right off. That sticking won't stay on there. And so I can get his ears, because that's something like that is something that will kind of stick up if you're not careful. Okay, we're going to lay him right down here in the corner as our little embossed figure. And we're going to start putting our border on. Now I like to give because I'm not tucking anything in this border, I like to give a generous amount of tape because I don't want this to come off. And so we're just going to line it up at the top with that edge, line it up to the bottom with this edge, and go ahead and push it down. There we go. Come in with our second layer, our polka dot layer. Now if you were to tuck a journaling box or a graphic or another piece of maybe a photo or something underneath this, I would just run the tape down the side so you have room to tuck that on without catching on tape. Lay this down and down. And there we got our, see with it, when I put this extra length on here, you get to see the paper a lot more. And so we're going to take that very to the top, bring it to the bottom, line it up with the side, and there we go. Now all we have left is our animal cracker. Put a couple ones on his feet, put one on his snout and his ear, and then one on his neck. Maybe one on his body. And we're just going to put him in a sideways right here, right next to the animal cracker paper. And there's our layout. Now let's see if I can get it on screen. We're going to bring this way over here. And we're going to bring our second page. Second page, I did similar photographs. And we put the 3 photos here. And we have a rabbit that I cut out here, and then our border on this side. So there's our 3 borders. And you learned a little bit how to emboss today with a little bit of Archival ink and some clear embossing powder. The embossing powder I used today was Hampton Art embossing powder, and this is the clear powder. So it goes on kind of, it's kind of a cream color, but when you actually melt it, it goes clear. So you can use whatever color ink on the bottom, and that will show through. So that's what I liked about this layout. So we'll catch you next time on the Nifty Scrapbooker.